Yeah, next on the Marr Army Rock Show, super excited to have Scott Bartlett with us. Scott, of course, one of the founding members of Saving Abel. They're out on tour with Mudfest, which is going all over the country, as they say. Scott, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, our pleasure, man. Been a fan watching you for so long now, and excited to see you out on Mudfest. So, the band formed in like 2008. It's been a long time. When you guys got together, did you have any clue like what it was going to become? I mean, did it surprise you to how big the band became?
Well, the thing about us that, obviously, whenever a band comes out, you have stars in your eyes, and you hope for the best. I personally was a bit of a realist already, and I'd already had my heart broken in half by the music industry. So I knew we were onto something. I knew that the production Skid Mills did was really, really good, and I'd never been a part of anything that was so well polished and produced. And when all the parts started falling into place and we signed a deal with Virgin Capital, and I realized I'd signed a record deal where the Beatles signed a record deal, I knew for sure that something was afoot. They say oftentimes lightning doesn't strike twice, and it just kind of kept striking for us. So what ended up happening was everybody wanted a piece of it from the label, and then all the other things that happen in the music business, which is ultimately what makes the business what it is. We were so busy that we didn't have a lot of time to stop and smell the roses. But in hindsight, yeah, it's been a wild ride over like 15 years, and I had no idea it would turn into what it did.
So, hey man, talk about the glamorous life of the road that isn't always so glamorous. We were at Mudfest in Houston and trying to hook up with you. Tell folks a little bit about what that day was like and a little bit of like what the stresses of the road can be sometimes.
Well, so we're managing ourselves presently while we finish this record, and then we're probably going to shop it. But what that means is we cut down a lot of costs to save on all the logistics that people don't really know about, like how expensive it is to travel from gig to gig. And our van got caught in traffic. We showed up, I think it was like 22 minutes before we were supposed to hit the stage. So we had to unload our gear. Our road crew was just busting ass trying to get it done. And in the hustle and bustle, you and I were supposed to hook up and do that interview, which is what we're doing now. I just couldn't find the time to do it, man. I was trying to get us paid. I was trying to help set up merch. I was trying, there were just a lot of factors afoot, and that's not uncommon. I mean, our van is broken down right now, and we're having to get it repaired. I'm driving the band home right now like a soccer mom literally, man. Like we rented a what do you call this thing? A 7-passenger minivan, and we got half the band and half the crew, and we're driving all the way from Central Texas back to Memphis and Mississippi, and it's just not an easy lifestyle, So that was what happened this particular time.
Well, I gotta give you guys hats off, man. You guys put on a great show for knowing texting back and forth. You guys had just a couple minutes to get on stage. Very impressive. So great job at a sold out show in Houston this weekend. So
thank you for that.
Yeah. So hey, talk a little bit about Mudfest, man. It's a long tour. So for people that are wondering, hey, what's this Mudfest thing, man? You guys are out for a while. Tell us about it.
Well, so what initially happened, we went over to Europe, and that was last year, and they did what was called the Resurrection Tour, which was essentially for Wes from Puddle of Mud after he got sober. He had burned a few bridges, so they called it the Resurrection Tour, and we were all under the same agency. And they put together a tour package with all of their major acts from the early 2000s, minus us, because we were in Europe. And it went over really well, but a lot of the promoters and fans were asking about Abel. So we all got together and talked about it, and we said, why don't we try to do it again as a bigger tour package and add Saving Abel to the bill, and rename it Mudfest. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're trying to brand it so they can do it annually. Although at this point, it doesn't seem to be stopping.
I was going to say do it.
Want to buy it. Yeah.
I was going to say do it annually. It's pretty much lasting all year as it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think at this rate, hell, it could go on for a decade. It's like between all the bands, there are so many hits at radio that it really doesn't get old. The problem is we all want to have more hits too, so at some point we got to go home to finish writing new music and get it out to you guys, you know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So that must be one of the hardest things right now. Are you guys trying to write while you're on the road, or is that just impossible to do?
See, we have a record that is essentially in the can. We got like 2 more drum tracks. I've got a few guitar overdubs, and then this thing is done. And then it's just, what do we do with it? We don't want to tour the record without people having a little taste of what it sounds like. So we're discussing radio strategies. And I mean, we're just, you know, personally, I'm glad it's almost done because Mudfest is about to hit really hard. We're going home for about 12 days. And I'm glad we don't have to just sit in the studio for all 12 days. We get to be with our family and loved ones. And we can put the finishing touches on this record and hopefully get a strategy together and go out and kick some ass on Mudfest.
Hey, it seems like every band I've ever talked to, going back, you know, to their beginnings, had that one band or artist who was maybe kind of took them under their wing or gave them some real good advice early on. Do you have such a band that kind of like mentored you when you guys were young?
So what was gnarly for me personally, and I think probably for Jason as well, because when all the songs were hitting at radio really hard, you know, we were listening to active rock. And all we ever heard were the same 10 bands, and it seemed like we ended up being on tour with all of those bands. And they all turned into our friends, you know, the Hinders, the Nickelbacks, the Avenged Sevenfolds. We toured with every last one of them. And every one of them has their own nuances and peculiar things that they do on the road, and like to what makes the road more home and conducive to longevity. And we learned a lot from all of them, and all of them had plenty to offer us as far as advice. I think probably the best one was actually Nickelback, just because it was at the height of their popularity. And those rooms, I mean, it was 30,000 seaters.
Yeah.
And they hung out with us every night. It was us, Papa Roach, Hinder, and Nickelback. And I mean, every night was a party. Like, and it was just a lot of advice from various, you know, rock stars. And that was a huge learning experience for us. That was circa 2009, I believe. Yeah,
I actually remember that tour, man. That was an amazing lineup. I still have great memories of that actual tour that you guys were on. So, hey, it's kind of interesting you just mentioned that. Like, so, you know, you mentioned Avenged Sevenfold and, you know, Nickelback. They're two very different bands, and you guys have that kind of southern vibe to you. So you guys, but yet a lot of folks would say it like almost hard rock metal too. What's the strangest combination you have ever toured with or played with?
We recently went out with Soil, and that was gnarly because they are self-proclaimed death metal, and you know, they turned into fantastic friends of ours. But we learned the hard way that those two acts don't bill that well together. So, but I mean, you know, we had fun. We shared a bus, and we definitely gained some new friends out of that whole deal. We've been out with. I mean, I don't think any of it's that weird. You know, Avenged Sevenfold was a little strange for us, but we were riding on the coattails of Addicted, and it was before Avenged was as massive as they are now. You know, they're more definite metal. The other bands that we end up going out with are more hard rock, active rock, and the only other band kind of doing what we're doing on the southern rock tip is Blackstone Cherry.
Yeah.
We've been out with them as well.
Yeah, that's a great combination, you and those guys. Now, hey, you know, we love the Warehouse Live where you played the other night, sold out. Love those guys down there. We're actually based out of Pennsylvania, and I noticed like venues disappearing all the times. And I can remember seeing you at a place called Record Theater in Towson. That's gone now. Is there like one or two favorite venues that you just wish were back that you guys lose? Not you lose, but like do you see venues closing that you just miss?
That's funny. The Record, you know, I grew up in Baltimore.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, little known fact. So, yeah, I would say there was one particular club in southern Alabama called Off the Wagon, and it was a podunk little town. I'd say the bar, shotgun style, it probably held about 300 to 500 people. And they would always push the 500 envelope because it was hotter than a frickin'. I mean, it was ridiculous in the summer. And we did pre-production for the Nickelback tour there, and we did 3 sold-out shows and just took over the town. I mean, and ended up saving the bar for about a year. They were able to stay afloat.
Oh, wow.
But then they went under. And actually, I played an acoustic show about a month ago in Nashville, and the owner came out, the owner from Off the Wagon, so I got to hang out with him. That was a lot of fun to tell old war stories. Man, Off the Wagon, and I was lucky enough before Abel to play it at CBGB's in the early 2000s before it shut down. But, the beauty of this band is that we can go play a podunk town in just like, a barn, essentially, which is where we came from. And then we can go to arenas, and it's still essentially the same show. So while new venues, are popping up, old venues are disappearing, and while it's sad, I guess progress is progress.
So
it is what it is.
So one or two quick things. I want you to plug a couple things here, if you don't mind. Talk about a little bit about the Scott Bartlett creations. I know that my spouse loves wearing those things, and they're kind of unique how you get the designs on those shirts, isn't it?
Yeah, well, every one of us in this band has kind of like a entrepreneurial spirit. We all know that there's a platform associated with Saving Abel, and I kind of picked up on it pretty early in my career, and I started a line of clothes based on my tattoos. And so that's literally what it is. It's like, I like to tell the story of the tattoo through the shirt. And I found out a while back that it seems that more women buy clothes than men, so I primarily target the female audience. That's why you said, your old lady. Like, it's like I crunched the numbers years ago, and demographically, Abel does about 70% of our purchases of merchandise are women.
Wow! So
I've strategically targeted that demo. And it's been a lucrative, fun enterprise for me, man. I mean, it's been stressful at times, and sometimes I just got to put it on the back burner. But when I have time, I like to dive into it, And yeah, it's called SV Creations, and you can find it. I don't think we have a link on the Abel site, but you can find it on Facebook. In order to buy stuff, you got to come to a show. I can't handle the fulfillment of clothes anymore. It's too difficult, man.
Well, there's plenty of opportunities for that, man. You guys are going to be on the road for a long time. And one more thing before I let you go, I want you to tell people about the VIP package, because if they're coming to one of the shows, they could have kind of a unique experience. Yeah,
we've been targeting, our VIPs. We always pride ourselves on, essentially, you never know what you're going to get. We really put ourselves into it to where it's like, presently I'm tour managing the band, so we don't exactly have a pro telling everybody where to go and when to be there. And somebody might be having a bad day, somebody might be having a great day. I mean, you get to see the real members of Saving Abel when you buy the VIP experience. People bring us stuff from home, like, hey, I made this homemade jerky. They'll bring us homemade moonshine. We'll sit there and play songs for them. Sometimes original songs that haven't even been cut yet come out. It's literally unique to each city and each group of people. And if you want to look into that, you should go to nationalacts.com. And there's one particular package that will get you admission to the show on our guest list. And we play the song 18. That one's gone over very well. And yeah, I mean, if you're a big fan of the band, I highly suggest doing it. Just because you get to know the real us.
Hey, so Scott Bartlett, man, I really appreciate you taking the time, and once again, hats off to you for a fantastic show in Houston this weekend, sold out. Get out there, folks, and see Mudfest and get that VIP experience. You will not be disappointed. So, Scott, man, thanks so much for being here.
Rock and roll. Thanks for having me.